Hey guys, welcome back. For anyone new here, hi, I'm Bree. I live in Kansas Zone 6B, and this is my backyard garden. And today I'm going to give you a tour of it. It's mid-June currently, and the garden is really starting to take off and go wild, especially this garlic. We are going to actually be harvesting this garlic tomorrow. It's ready to pull. I actually post a picture up on the screen now of the one I pulled the other day. So I would go ahead and pull this now, but we have just got a few days of rain, so I kind of just wanted to give it at least a day of drying out, and I also need my husband's help with him building something in our garage to help hang this quantity. Last year I did not grow this much, so it's definitely an ordeal to try to cure this much in such a small space like ours. So I actually have the varieties that I planted here because you guys were actually wondering. So the one I just showed you up on the screen was actually a Lorenzo white. We have a German fire, we have Amish red and chestnut red, then we have German white, Russian red, German red, and northern white. So these are all hardneck varieties. Here in my zone where I currently live, hardneck is suggested, and I've always had really good luck with hardneck. I personally have never done any softneck varieties, so this next year I actually want to try because our last few winters have been relatively pretty warm, so I think I can honestly get away with it. If you're in an area more north of me and you have grown softneck garlic, please let me know your experience with it because I would absolutely love to know. But next week you guys will see the whole process of harvesting all of this garlic, curing it, and all that jazz, so make sure you're subscribed for that. I absolutely love growing garlic. It's so easy, so if you're interested in growing garlic, definitely start looking around because you want to get that planted in October. Last year I only grew chestnut red and I absolutely loved it. The flavor was phenomenal. So I'm really interested to see the flavor comparison between all 8. I really need to figure out a way to do like a taste test of all of these because I think that would be really fun to do as well. So when you get up close to the garlic, you can see that they're all kind of dying back a little bit in different stages here. But for majority of hardneck, you're wanting to harvest around the 3rd to 4th leaf dying back. So here you can actually see that one leaf has completely died back on this one here. Here's number 2, 3, and we are on our 4th one dying back. Each leaf here represents one of those papery layers of a garlic bulb, so you don't want too many to die back because that's going to expose your garlic head and not allowing it to store longer. You can have all sorts of disease, so you want to kind of catch it in this middle stage of the leaves dying back. So yeah, it's definitely time. At the front entryway of the garden in front of the garlic, we have quite a bit going on. All of this blue planet is looking so pretty. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's just absolutely beautiful. Our okra is really starting to take off. This bed is really weedy. I need to get to this bed. I've been weeding pretty much everywhere every day. So last month, I don't think I told you the variety. This is one of those like rainbow gem corns that you can use for popcorn. So beautiful. It's doing really, really well. I will say I have fed this I believe twice because it was starting to yellow, and corn is a really, really heavy feeder. So I was making sure I've just been on top of certain plants. So when I say feed, that simply means I'm using some type of organic fertilizer or I'm using some type of compost just to help supplement. Typically, if your plants are yellowing and it's not time to harvest or after harvest, they're typically needing some type of nutrient. So look into what they need. There's a lot of all around, all purpose ones that do really great. But yeah, I kind of just watch the plants. If I see signs of certain things, I will go ahead and feed them. Honestly, I don't feed often at all. With the garlic, I did feed twice, which is kind of recommended with bone meal. But either way, the last thing I have over here is my archway, and this is a pink Bumblebee cherry tomato that I have 4 different plants planted, and they are looking so cute. Let me get you up close and personal to show you the cute little tomatoes. So here's a little ladybug with our cluster of little cherry tomatoes. There's been so many of these cute little ladybugs all over this plant. I've been having so many ladybugs throughout the garden. Man, all of this rain and now the heat's really starting to take in. It is very dewy tonight. So we have all of my strawberry plants here. So these are ever-bearing strawberries. I believe I have Ozark Beauty. Gosh, I can't remember the other variety. So either way, I started to actually have problems with my strawberries. So last week I told you guys that my little rocks that I painted everyone was wanting an update if they were working. See, now these are so bushy, I can't even see these little cute little strawberry rocks. So they were working really well until the strawberries got really bushy. And then I started to notice that all of my strawberries were starting to turn small and tiny. For example, here's one right here. It's like smaller than my thumb. So that was starting to happen. I was researching this the other day. So pretty much this bed's overcrowded. Runners started to take over. There's runners latching, there's runners spreading all across this bed, and I really need to thin out this bed. I have a bunch of different pots. I think I'm going to fill up with soil just to save the plants. I don't want to get rid of these strawberries. These strawberries are amazing. They were awesome. So yeah, but with that being said, I brought up the rocks for a reason. So now that there's so much like foliage coverage, you can't really see the rocks, and I'm also not really getting any more strawberries at the moment because squirrels and birds keep dipping in here because they don't really care. They don't see, so they just come in and they swipe what they can get. So I'm honestly not getting much from this bed at all at the moment. So they were working, but now they're not working. I simply think that's because there's just so much foliage coverage that, I mean, you can't see them anyway. Obviously they're not going to work if you can't see them. So that's kind of my update there, but this is a to-do project also for the upcoming week. This definitely needs to get done as soon as possible. So to the left of my strawberries, I have all of my carrots and also my serrano peppers here. So my carrots I have thinned out now. So any home grower knows the struggle of doing just good carrots. Sometimes carrots can be really tricky. I've honestly only had like 2 really good harvests of carrots out of all the harvests I have tried. So honestly, I'm trying my best this year to try every trick in the book to make sure I get good carrots, because carrots we use quite often. So this bed right here is actually in the process of getting flipped. This was where all of that chamomile was, and I just clipped it back because it was getting really tall. It was flopping over, so I harvested everything I possibly could off of it and I cut it back. So this will definitely be coming back. Also, the peas are starting to die back. I'm actually shocked they're doing this well. Honestly, this next week, this is like the first hot day of a stretch of just continuously getting hotter. I think by Sunday we're supposed to reach 100. So my peas are really going to tank out really quick. I also have red Russian kale, which I've been giving handfuls to my chickens because they really love it. And personally, it's not like really good tasting anymore, but just because it is so hot. A lot of those cool weather crops, if you're new to gardening, they typically taste better because when they get cooler, their sugars actually compound, making it a sweeter plant. You'll actually notice that with your carrots as well. That's why I love growing carrots in the fall winter time, because they just taste amazing. So this bed over here is starting to finally take off. So I do have San Marzano tomatoes over this arch. I have my indeterminates on 2 of my arches. Then I also have all of my determinates over in that bed, which we will talk about in just a minute. But let me flip you over and get you a closer view. One thing you might notice is I actually do have quite a few marigolds and basil planted between my tomatoes, and that is for pest purposes. I noticed that marigolds and basil made a huge difference with my hornworm problems that I was having in previous years. So I think I will always be that person that helps just plants them. They help a lot. I really like companion planting and learning about it. So I have some Goldie honey bears. I have some dill over here, zinnias. Again, all of this is being cleared out over here. And then I have my San Marzanos that go over this arch here. And then we have my Mongolian giant that's really starting to take off. I also had another one here, but someone ate it and I had to direct seed another one. So you might notice I have wine bottles all over the place as well, which I need to refill this one here. But this is a terracotta stake. I have these in my description box all the time. I love them. So you'll notice I have these with a lot of my flowers, especially my sunflowers or big plants like my squashes. You'll see on my trellis system. It's because those just, they drink up a lot, and when they can get what they want, they're really happy. I noticed a huge difference with sunflowers last year, so I think I will always do that with my flowers. I also have some zinnias over here. This was my first bloom. It's starting to die back a little bit, but we have a few more starting to take off. I also have some calendula back there. So yeah, we're getting all of these beautiful colors starting to pop off, and I'm very, very excited about that. Also, I accidentally forgot to pick off a few blooms, and I'm actually getting peppers before I'm getting tomatoes this year, which is a first. I picked off a lot of my blooms to help direct all that energy to go into the roots, but look at these banana peppers. These banana peppers look phenomenal. So I will say all of my other peppers I have not seen much production out of, because again, I did pinch all of those blooms when I originally planted them in. I honestly must have just missed the bananas, or they are just on top of their game. I do remember those ones being the first to produce last year, but it's mid-June, so typically I don't get peppers until about July. So as you can see, the trellis is really starting to take off. This loofah is right here in the front, and it's doing really, really well. I did notice that these leaves are starting to yellow a little bit, so I do need to feed this probably. We have gotten just an influx of rain, so I know that's just really draining everything. So on this trellis here, this whole trellis system, I have green beans, cucumbers, loofahs. I have a few different winter variety squashes, and also cantaloupe. I think that kind of sums everything up on here, but I have quite the variety, so I'm really hoping it does well. We always end up having squash bugs and vine borer, and this is typically when I start noticing signs of certain things. I haven't noticed any eggs yet. I've been watching, so I'm hoping that we are doing well. We will see. I might have to replant some of this. I've had to in the past, but I've been experimenting with a few things, so we will see. But either way, I'm really happy with the progress. We're already further than we were last year on the trellis, guys. For some reason, I did not have good luck with trellises last year. The year before, beautiful. So hopefully this is my redemption year. So as you guys can see, these potatoes are looking amazing. These are a Gold Rush Russet. I have no experience growing them at all. And honestly, if you have a favorite potato variety, please leave them in the comments below, because I would love to know your opinions. I've been really enjoying this. They've been really, really easy. This is the very first time I actually bought organic seed potatoes. I always tried to do just the tricks you can see from buying store-bought potatoes, and I always had disease problems, unfortunately. I decided to fork out a little bit of extra money and buy an organic certified seed potato. Man, I just noticed a grasshopper. I've been starting to notice little grasshoppers. I hate grasshoppers. Aren't they the worst? They always love like these big foliage plants too, and it drives me nuts. So continuing on, we have all of my onions here in these beds. In last month's garden tour, I actually told you guys that I was probably going to cut back half. Well, I cut back half and noticed a lot of really good results, so I just went ahead and cut back all of them. A lot of growers that grow big bulbs, they suggest you cut back the tops, and they also suggest you do this technique called spooning, which I also did. So if you're interested in that whole process, I will make sure I link that video above and in the description box for you guys. But they are looking really, really good. We have gotten some rains. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, you guys need to go back and watch that video, and then I'm gonna show you guys these onion. I am just, wow, they grew so much in literally like 4 or 5 days. This is insane. So essentially with spooning, what you're doing is removing the soil outside the edge of the onion. Wow. That grew so much. It just makes sense because the onion's not fighting with having to push the soil, so it just is able to bulb out a lot easier. So yeah, go watch that video if you're interested, but so far I'm impressed. So the last garden bed we have over here before we get into my in-ground spaces is where the pink celery was. We harvested that, and now the green beans are popping up. I have had some issues with roly-polies in this bed, so I did just have to replant a few, but pretty soon we're gonna have some beans taken off. Also, I ended up saving one of these pink celery plants to go to full seed. That way I could collect celery seed for my spice pantry. All right, so now we have all the aromas, which is pretty much all 40 of these plants. They are looking really, really good. I'm getting some really pretty clusters of fruits going on. So one reason I love determinants over indeterminates is you pretty much prune off the bottom leaves once just to help with airflow, maybe do it twice if some are starting to reach the ground again, and that's it. You don't want to prune more off because these are bush plants. They end up growing to a certain height, a certain type. They produce a certain amount of fruit. Once they do that, they all ripen and they die off. An indeterminate, on the other hand, the ones I have on both these arches here, they will continue to grow. The problem with that is you have to keep up with your pruning. So if you are a home gardener and you're like, wow, these tomatoes are a lot, look at the varieties you have, because honestly, I am a determinate girl, even though I have indeterminate varieties. I like making sauce. These are paste, these are aromas, and I really like them. So these are the plants I started indoors over the winter, and then I have some direct seeded through here that are really small that you can barely see. I need to go back through and weed again. These beds just keep getting so weedy because of all the rain. And then these were actually the cuttings I took off of those mother plants over here, which I will link that video to as well, because you can get a bunch of free tomato plants and they're looking so good. So I actually have tomatoes over here as well. So I have 3 successions of Romas, and I'm really hoping I get Romas throughout the entire growing year. You may also notice I have a ton of hyssop plants all over. I don't really talk about them because they're kind of just an afterthought at this point. I really just grow them for pollinator reasons. And there's the chicken coop. We got the ladies out. They're enjoying their time. They're a pretty quiet bunch. A lot of people are like, are they loud? No, they're pretty calm. But if we continue over, we have my other in-ground space, which I finally started to plant in. So last week, one day I went to the plant nursery, and this is why I don't go to the plant nursery, because I always end up buying something I do not need, which ended up being this hydrangea plant, or hydrangea. I'm the worst at pronouncing stuff. Y'all know what I mean. Y'all know the plant. It's a beauty. It's actually a dwarf plant. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Around it, I actually planted lavender. I have 3 lavender plants I started from seed, but then we have a bunch of Mammoth Sunflowers again, some zucchini in that little hoop house there. So I used Bootstrap Farmer's hoop vendor. Our plans ended up changing, and I might end up messing around with hoop systems more come winter. I just wanted to get that up for squash, but I really like how it bends the hoops. They're really sturdy, and I think it's gonna work really, really well for that. So if you're interested in how I did that, I will link that product down below. I thought it was really helpful. But I also planted Broom Corn, which is a corn variety that people use to make brooms, which I thought would be really fun to try to make my own broom. But even if I don't make my own broom, I planted those Mammoth Sunflowers and also that Broom Corn for seed purposes for the birds to help supplement all their feed costs, because there's been a lot of just shortage talk, and if that happens, I want to be prepared to some degree. So I'm really, really excited about that. I really want to try to make my own broom. I need to start looking up tutorials. But I also planted some more Goldie honey bears. I have about a 10, maybe a 12 by 4 area I still have to plant out. And honestly, I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with that yet. I might plant more okra. I might not. I need to see how many of those plants are going to produce, because those plants are going to end up producing a lot, because we have, I think, like 8 over there. So that will be really interesting. Anyway, guys, that's going to conclude the garden tour for June. I cannot wait to show you July. July in the garden is honestly one of my favorite times. The garden is starting to take off, and by next month, it's going to look like a complete different space. It's going to look like a complete jungle. It's going to be foliage overload, and it's one of my favorite times of the year. So I can't wait to share that with you guys. But thanks for joining me today. I'll see you guys all next week. Bye.